This video is going to be about gasoline bikes. Pretty much the last gasoline bikes you may want to buy, because we are looking at the end of an age. I would say within 5 years, probably most of any bike or car being sold on the US market is going to be electric. Just looking at the map, for example, you go to your favorite map and you type in electric charging stations, you'll see them all over the place. And many of them are not Tesla. Some of them are Tesla, but there is ChargePoint, there is EV Connect, EV Passport, Blink. I mean, there are many of them. I guess the advantage of the Tesla is that it is ubiquitous in so many places throughout the entire country, and not just in Manhattan, not just in the city center. But say I'm going to search for just ChargePoint. How about ChargePoint? So I'm just looking for one particular type. Check this out. Non-Tesla. All of them non-Tesla. So you don't have to have a Tesla car to get around. These stations are all over the place. So charging is becoming less and less of a problem, and you might be tempted to get something electric, something that goes beyond the electric bike. The electric bike is rock solid. I would say the market is totally ready if you want an electric bicycle. But for scooters and motorcycles, this technology is still in its infancy. The one that appeals to me the most would be the Vespa Elettrica, but at over $8,000, you're still not looking at something that it can cost effectively replace the gasoline version. This bike has a 48-volt battery, which is pretty much the same I have on my electrified Brompton. 5.5 horsepower or 4 kilowatt hour. That's definitely more than what I have, maybe 5 times the power that I have in the Brompton. But look at the weight. It's 300 pounds. It's something like 7-8 times as heavy as my Brompton. So I would say neither the range nor the speed nor the acceleration, the technical data are really up to the expectation of a gasoline bike or an electric bicycle. You can buy an electric bicycle or scooter that can do 60, 70, even 80 or 100 miles on a single charge. So those technologies are ready, but for a scooter or a bike, I don't recommend it. So let's look at what kind of gasoline bikes you could buy as of 2023 that would still make sense. Ultimately, these bikes are probably only going to be used by you for the next 5, maximum 7 years. Then you might as well sell them off onto the resale market or just trash them, because maybe nobody's going to want them. And moving up from the lowest price point to the higher and higher, I would start with the Piaggio. Piaggio has some scooters that have the same engines as the Vespa. So you can get this 150 for something like nearly half the price of what you would be paying for a Vespa. And it doesn't have the kind of fit and finish and the beautiful colors of the Vespa. What a stupid arrangement for a website. These two bikes in front of each other. Very weak design, but this flat black styling is really cool on the Piaggio. I'm afraid it's not entirely a small wheel bike. The rear is kind of smallish. The front wheel is more like a full size or near full size wheel. It has ABS in the front, not in the rear. It's not a rocket, but it's 150, so it's easily enough to get on the highway, to get onto bridges, into tunnels. And look at the price. I mean, the price speaks for itself. What if this thing falls apart in 3 years? Who cares? The whole thing cost $3,000. As far as the 50, notice that the 150 is not much more expensive. So don't worry about the 50. The 50 is not going to be able to keep up with traffic. It's not a safe ride. Get your motorcycle license and get the 150. That's what I recommend. If you want to move up a little bit, around closer to 4,000, not much more money than the scooter really, I think the Honda Grom would be an excellent choice. This is the basic Grom, but the Grom has all kinds of updates. They have some colors, so they have some nice colors. It's not a bad looking bike at all, even as it is. But there are all kinds of third-party trims. You can convert this to look like a speed bike or an off-road bike. It's really a cool looking little bike. It has a peg for a passenger. You can actually put a passenger on it. The size is somewhat smaller than the Piaggio we just looked at. This is only 125. This is not 150. It can do 45, maybe 50 miles an hour max. It is legal on the highway. I don't recommend that you ride from New York to Florida on this bike, but you can certainly hop on the highway for a few stops, which is what this is made for. Just staying within 150 mile range from where you are now. And it's gonna last. It's a Honda. If you treat it right, it's gonna last for the rest of your life. And if you want to convert it to an electric, the gasoline engine is not too big. It's easily removed, so you might be able to do something. You could put batteries in here instead of the gas tank. The next up model is also a Honda. It's just a tiny bit more expensive, an extra $400 or $500. But the Monkey is such a beautiful classic. If you keep it in good condition and you get tired of it, say in 5 years, and you want an electric, you'll be able to sell it for 60, maybe even 70% of the original price, which would mean that you spent for 5 years of riding it, you spend maybe $2,000. That's totally worth it. It does not have a passenger. You can't put a passenger here. It's a very nice seat, but only one person fits anyway. There is no passenger foot peg. I don't know if you can get that on the aftermarket, but it's pretty much just a one-person bike. But definitely the most beautiful mini moto on the market, possibly the most beautiful mini moto ever made. It's gorgeous. And you can get a classic for a little over 4K. Isn't that a deal? Next up, I would say the Suzuki Burgman 200. The 400 which they sell is really expensive for what it is. You have good technology, but it's also quite ugly. The reason this is so cute is because this is so right for the money they charge. It's like $5,000, not much more than the Monkey. It has very comfortable seating for 2 people. It has full wind protection, front and rear ABS. Even the Monkey only has ABS in the front. And the nice thing about it is it looks just like the 650 or 600 that they used to sell years ago. Unfortunately, that bike has been pulled, at least from the US market. Nobody is selling big bikes, big scooters on the US market anymore. BMW has also pulled what they had. And so I don't recommend you go for something as big as a 400 or a 600 from Suzuki. But this 200 is really cute. So far, this is the most powerful of them. I don't know how much it can do on the highway, maybe 60 miles an hour, something like that. It's got full ABS, which is really nice. And it's certainly going to last a lot longer than 5 years. If you take care of it, it should last for decades, really. Suzuki is rock solid when it comes to scooters. They have been doing this business for decades. If you want to go above 5,000, you have more than 5,000 to spend, then you could go for something like a 150cc Vespa. The 50cc's I don't recommend. They are pretty expensive for what they are, and they are slow and sluggish. You can spend another 800 or so or 700 and get an upgrade kit, and you can push the cc to 70, but even that is only half of what you get from the 150. So I recommend that if you do get this, you get the 150. There are some really, really nice color variations, like this silver gray, this metallic gray, the all red, or even two-tone here and there. So you have lots of choices, and the resale value is going to be excellent. You spend $6,000 today, and in 5 years' time you can still get maybe $4,000, $3,500 for it. You could also convert it to electric, but I would rather just 5 years from now, I would rather just sell this thing to some schmuck who wants to do the conversion of his own. So we are at $6,000. That's quite a bit for a 150cc bike. For a little more, for say $8,000, you can get a 400. That's more than twice the power of the Vespa. Now Vespa makes also 300cc bikes. I don't recommend that you get those. At that price range, going up to $7,000-8,000, I would get the BMW. I think it's a beautiful bike for what it is. And BMW has a lot of upsell, but even the basic model has a full windshield. You have to pay extra money for heated seats, heated grips, but it has everything else. A nice two-level seat, very, very comfortable and cushy. Your whole body is fully protected. You can put on a skirt and even ride in the winter, so long that the weather is dry. It's got ABS, it's got everything you would want in a maxi scooter. You can buy dark colors. If you choose the dark version, I would recommend that you put on a decal or some stripes or some kind of reflective colors, because this really seems unsafe. My preference would be the white one, just because of visibility in traffic. But with 400cc you can definitely accelerate, you can keep up with traffic, and this is a really good looking bike. I love the headlights, and they give you plenty of light. Unlike the Vespa with the teeny tiny single piece headlight, you have 4 in this variety. You have security, key lock, a fairly big trunk as well. So this is about as far as it's going to go for a scooter, although the next bike is something that could be considered a scooter, because the Goldwing, the latest variety, comes in an automatic version, depending upon which one you would get. I would not get one that doesn't have a box, and if I'm getting the one with the box, there is not much of a difference between the regular Tour and the automatic, so I would just get the automatic. This is a massive half-ton bike. It has a presence on the road like nothing else on two wheels. So I highly would recommend that if you have the money. This is a $30,000 bike, so if you have the money and you want the best and the biggest, then the Goldwing is the thing to get. Probably the only thing is that just for 5 years, I don't know if you're gonna get much money for it, if it's gonna be a gasoline bike. So it's really for people who have plenty of money. If you ride it for say 10 years, then and you bought it for cash, then you would be spending $3,000 per year, which is totally reasonable. And if you want to get a used one, I think the used one would be a smarter purchase, but you would have to know how to ride a manual bike, and especially at this size, that's not easy. But check out this one. This one is really old, but if it's still running well, $5,000, and it's only 27,000 miles. So these old bikes, they might be old, but in many cases they were just sitting in the garage. They did not, the people who owned them did not put that many miles into them. Look at this one, 15,000 miles, and you can probably haggle it down to $10,000 to buy it. and it looks like it's in good condition. This is all I have for this video. I recommend that you scroll down and check out some of the links, and if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.